Hi everyone, welcome again to Bake Your Way Kitchen. Today on this video I'm going to show you how to make Whoppie pies, whatever you want to call it. And they're basically a chocolate cookie, and it's got a cream cheese filling. We're going to be doing a chocolate cookie this time in between, but you could do a vanilla cookie by leaving out the cocoa powder. The first thing I want to do here, you'll see, and I often talk about to instruct to sift your flour or cocoa powder when it's got lumps, and you can see here there's a lot of lumps here, so I'm just going to quickly show you, and you'll just see a huge difference by just doing this. It picks up a lot of lumps, and then it'll gradually take a look at all that's left behind. You try to get as much out of there as you can. And it's a lot finer. As you can see, the cocoa powder is much finer. Sorry, it's not very proper. I've got 2.5 cups here of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and I have a half teaspoon of salt. Now, if you use salted butter in this recipe, you can leave that out because there'll be enough salt. Whoops, just going to carefully, I probably should have used a bigger bowl. Try to mix all these dry ingredients together. And cocoa powder always makes a mess. I'm seeing it's already making a mess on the counter. So, yeah, I should have used a bigger bowl. But you know what? I am not about to waste another one. So I'll clean this counter up after, but as long as you get kind of the baking soda, baking powder stuff mixed up, that's the main point, because when we mix this in with our wet ingredients, it won't matter too much. It's just about getting it started there. I'm just going to get a quick cloth here. Quickly wipe this up. Okay, so our dry ingredients are done. Now we've got our wet ingredients. I've got half a cup here of room temperature salted butter. I'm using salted. I know a lot of you might be confused because I usually always use unsalted butter. Well, what happened was there was a big sale on butter at my grocery store on the salted butter. It was like $2 for a pound. And so I stocked up, and what I do is I freeze my butter, so that way I can take it out anytime, because butter where I'm from, it's expensive. It usually costs, for standard, not even the organic kind, it's usually about $6 a pound. So when this deal happened, I had to go along with it. Okay, so I've got the butter here, and actually I'm going to use my whisk here to cream the butter just for a couple seconds, just to really remove any lumps, get it ready. So you kind of want it to look like this. That's what you want. What I've got here is 1 cup of sugar. I'm using 3/4 cup of brown sugar, which is about 155 grams, with a 1/4 cup of white sugar, which is about 50 grams. So now that I got that, we're gonna mix this in, and my brown sugar has a lot of lumps. Now you can't sift a brown sugar. I mean, you could, but it would take you a long time. So just try to get it, if you have any lumps, to get them out as much as possible. I'm just gonna get another towel here. Sometimes I find if you're on a counter and you're stirring something constantly, it helps to have a towel. That way, it kind of stays pretty good. And if you have lumps of brown sugar like I do, I just take the pieces, kind of just go around like this. The smaller they are, the easier they are to break when you're just generally mixing. So, now that we've got some air in this butter-sugar mixture, you can see it's turning very fluffy. Still got a few lumps in there. It's like the bottom of the barrel brown sugar that I had, so That's usually, it's inevitable for them to have lumps. There's one of my brown sugar lumps. It's not a huge deal. So now I'm going to add the eggs, 2 eggs, one at a time. And as soon as you add in a bit more liquid ingredients, it's going to make the process a lot easier. So once that's fully incorporated, see, you can already see it's a lot lighter. We're going to add in our second egg. That going in. I'm also going to add a little bit of vanilla. Whoa. I probably added in about 2 teaspoons. You can leave it out or just add as much or as little as you want. I usually, if it's a chocolate one like this, I don't add too much because there will be a vanilla filling. It's a vanilla cream cheese filling. So there we go. So now what's left to do, we've got our milk here and our dry ingredients here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the dry and end with the dry. So I'm going to do 3 stages of the dry ingredients to 2 stages of the wet ingredients. So what I mean by that is, I'm going to start by adding in some of that. Start to whisk. And be careful, because we're dealing with cocoa powder here, and it is a nightmare to clean up. I'm going to switch over to my spatula, which will help me out a bit more here. So you want to get those sides, and while I'm mixing this, okay, so once it starts to incorporate, as soon as it starts to incorporate, we'll start adding in our milk. We'll add about half of our 1 cup of milk. You could use whole milk, or you could use, you could even use cream, but I'm using actually 1% here, because I made this before and don't notice a difference between, I mean, you'll notice a little bit of difference, but not enough to really matter that much. So I'm going to add my second stage of my dry ingredients. And while I'm stirring this, I'm going to ask you if you prefer me to use my stand mixer or if you prefer me doing this by hand, because I can do it either way. But I'm just not sure if a lot of you out there are using a stand mixer or usually doing this by hand. So let me know what you prefer, and I'd be happy to go along with that. So I've added in my second stage. I'm going to add my last stage of the milk. I probably could have done it in like 4 stages, dry to 3 wet or something, but I'm doing 3 dry to 2 wet. And it smells great. So now that that's all in, we are going to add our last stage, our last bit of our dry mixture. And these are all the ingredients now for our whoopie batter. The mixture is fully done, and I've got I reuse my parchment paper because parchment paper is expensive. You don't need to just simply throw it out, so that's a good tip right there. And so what you're going to need to do is, after you've preheated the oven, as I said, we're going to then need to scoop the cake batter, because it is like a cake batter, into different mounds on our baking sheet. So what I do, this is about a 3-inch ramekin. So what you want to do is using a spoon, or a cookie scoop might be a better option because you'll get approximately the same amount each time. And you're aiming for, by the way, about a dozen of these, so 24 individual size cookies, because we're going to aim for 12 full whoopie pies. You're going to want to give them an 1.5 inches or so apart. You don't need to give too much. So you want to spoon about, I'm using about, I would say this is about 2.5 tablespoons worth. Spread it out just a little bit. That's good. Using a spoon is okay. And just keep on going. And I'm just going to continue doing this. You just simply scoop. See, it comes out very easily with a cookie scoop, and you just simply spread it out. Sorry for that noise. And you're going to want to get as much uniform shape as you can because we're going to be sandwiching these later on. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to scoop and spread them out, and I'll show you the next step. Right, so I've now evenly distributed all of mine, and so now I'm going to put these in the oven for about, I would say, somewhere in the 12 to 14 minute range. They need to go in, and then we need to let them cool completely. But as we're putting these in the oven, we will go ahead and do our cream cheese filling. Now it's time to make our cream cheese filling. Very super easy and simple to make. And I would highly recommend using a handheld or stand mixer for this. Excuse me. I've got about half a pound, or where I'm from, it's a 250 gram pack of cream cheese. You have a 250, you can add the whole thing in. But if you don't, if you have a big cream cheese, you need 227 grams, half a pound, 8 ounces of cream cheese. And I don't have a vanilla bean pod. I don't usually get it because I'm in love with this vanilla bean paste. You might have seen me in some of my early videos using this. It's out of this world incredible. And just in a second, after I add a generous amount of this goodie stuff, I don't know if the camera will pick up, but you can see all those vanilla bean specks. It's absolutely delicious. It's expensive, but it's worth it. So what we're first going to do is we're going to beat these. I've also got a little bit of salt in the bottom of the bowl. You'll see me with almost anything, I add always just a little bit of salt because it brings the level from there, the flavor from there to there. The important thing is not adding too much or too little. We're going to cream this. Your cream cheese should be at about room temperature. You should take it out at least an hour before starting. I've got the vanilla here, sugar, or vanilla, salt, and cream cheese. We're just going to quickly beat this. Looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and add about 2 ounces of white chocolate. This is optional. I just melted this white chocolate chips that I had. It's a little bit on the thick side. It's the store-bought. It's not usually. I usually buy like a European white chocolate, but I bought a grocery store dark white chocolate, which is unlike me. I didn't have time to go out to our wholesaler to pick out the box of the European chocolate, which is a higher quality. So I'm just going to quickly beat this in as well. Alright, so that's done. So now all we need to do is add in a 1/4 cup of our powdered icing sugar and 1/4 cup of whipping cream. And let's beat this slow. Oops, that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to quickly scrape down the sides. So here we go. This is what we're looking for. We've got a nice smooth. I'm just going to beat this one more time because there were a few clumps on the side. It'll just be a second. Whoa, it's flying everywhere. Okay, so this is what you want. It's soft, but it's not too runny. So this is what we're going to be using for our filling. So I'm just going to go ahead, clean up. Once all the cookies are ready and have cooled down, I'll show you how to assemble. Alright, so these are the first batch of the Whoppie Pie and as you can see, they're just out of the oven still. They're still warm. They were very easy to transfer after a couple minutes. Now normally, you let these cool for about an hour before giving it a shot. I'm not like that. I'm a little bit more impatient. So, I'm going to give one a try to show you. Just so you know, you see the ones with white chocolate? That's just a garnish for the top portion. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little bit of my mixture. Which one should I take? I'll go for these ones. So you simply want to spread as much or as little as you want. Just on here. Just like so. That should be good enough, right? Plenty. Whoa. Kind of got a little bit on the sides here. And I'll take this and put it on top, and we got our whoopie pie here. I'm going to give it a try. Delicious. You can see perfectly cakey in the middle. You got the nice white chocolate, or really cream cheese filling. The white chocolate just complements it a bit. The cream cheese is still very strong. You can add a little bit more sugar if you want that not to be the case. There's only a 1/4 cup of sugar, so the filling's not ultra sweet. It's very good though. You can always, as I mentioned, add a little bit more sugar, or you can add a little chocolate or something if you prefer for your filling. I really like it as it is. I'm making a mess. And you're seeing it's kind of melting to the ends here. That's because they're still hot. It's very delicious. These make about 10 to 12 depending on the size. These are big whoopie cookies. I hope you give this recipe a try. It's absolutely delicious. Great for any time of the year. I'll have some pictures just right after this. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.